Yes, you can. It's your life. Take a stand. So live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life. With Dr. Julia Royston. I'm Dr. Julia Royston, for I've come that you might have life and have that life more abundantly to the full and overflowing. Welcome to Live Your Best Life, brought to you by Jones Media and BK Royston Publishing. I am super excited to join you today. My goal each time we are together is to give you inspiration, information, and an introduction to new ideas, resources, and people that will help you live your best life. Today, our special guest is Reverend Sha'Rhonda Thompson, Associate Pastor of Praise Nation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, first off, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Reverend Sha'Rhonda Thompson. As you already stated, I am the Associate Pastor at Praise Nation, where my pastor is Mario Martin. I am a newly author of Breaking the Circle Cycle of Generational Curses.
I am super excited about that too. I have to do a same shameless plug. Breaking the Cycle of Generational Curses is brought to you by BK Royston Publishing. So the complete title is Breaking the Circle Cycle of Generational Curses, Forgiveness from Within the Alabaster Box. That is a mouthful. So how did you come up with that title, first off?
Well, it was something that was given to me. It was deposited in me while I was sitting at my mother's twin brother's funeral, and God just let me know that it was time for generational curses to be broken, and that's when its inception began.
So we all have our preconceived notions of what a generational curse is, but in your definition, define generational curse.
A generational curse, as I define it, is a stronghold that has been left unacknowledged. It's been unattended over the generation after generation. And whenever something that is a stronghold gets left unattended, it grows muscles. It goes stronger and stronger, and it's not broken.
So it's like in your family, Uncle Charlie did that, Aunt Mary did that, and Big Mama before her did that. So now it just continues, and we're able to see these strongholds unattended. So explain a little bit more what a stronghold is to our audience who may not be familiar with that term, and then left unattended.
So a stronghold is basically a sin. It's a sin that has been left not acknowledged, not dealt with, not delivered from, is what that stronghold is.
Exactly. That's wonderful to really think about, but we have to confess our sins,
Yes.
forsake them, use God's help and power to live that best life that He came for, that He died for, so that we can be an overcomer and continue. So one of the other parts about the title that I really liked is the circle cycle. We've heard generational curses, but the actual term circle cycle. Expound on that just a little bit more.
Well, I know a lot of people, it's a little redundant, but that is really how the Spirit of God deposited in me. So I had to also do some research because of the circle and the cycle. So a cycle is defined as a series of events that are regularly repeated, and a circle is a round plane whose boundary measures is equal distances. So the circle cycle is how the curse itself receives the strength. The more it turns, the stronger it gets. The stronger it gets, the more damage it does. The more damage it does, it creates more destruction, and the harder the acknowledgement will be.
Oh my goodness. I hope that you're getting an image of that circle that's spinning. You know, the earth is on an axis, it spins constant and these generational curses are continually to spin over and over and over, and then be passed down generation to generation. Do you think that it can skip a generation, or in this circle, if it's a complete circle, unbroken, and continue to spin, can it skip generations, skip family sides? If you're married, um, husband side, wife side, can it skip generations?
I think it may appear as if it skips a generation because it can, when it's left unattended, if it's if it's an alcoholism curse, then if it's left unattended, it doesn't have to repeat itself as an alcoholic, but it can come up as an abuse, a verbal abuse or physical abuse. So it may appear that it skips a generation, but it just redefines itself when it's not broken.
So when we categorize it, or for our discussion today, we're talking about generational curses, but some people may just define it as a habit.
Yes.
That's just something that we saw,
yes,
and it's okay because Uncle Mama did it, Big Mama did it, and it's just something that we should do. How do you, the right and wrong of family is so hard, because it's fine in my family to do, but it may not be fine in your family to do. How do we do that? Especially when kids go to school, you're going to college, and this is the way I was brought up, and this is the way you were brought up, and let's just not even talk about combining family members, intermarrying, bringing other children from other relationships. How does that work?
I think a lot of the times, and I think we all have heard this statement, what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Exactly.
That is something that is repeated time after time. So that is what allows the rug to be pushed. All those habits, those addictions, those things get left unaddressed because in our minds, we're not supposed to think about it. We're not supposed to talk about it. But anytime you suppress something, it will get stronger. And we have to make sure that we get to the root of the curse. We have to get to the root. Sometimes I believe we deal with the surface issue. And the surface issue are the things that we see. But God doesn't always operate in the things that we see. In order to get to that generation, we have to get down to the nitty gritty. We got to get dirty, and we got to get to the root and pull that thing up and break that curse.
It's amazing. That's one of the things about living your best life that has to happen. We got to face the hard things.
Yes.
We got to face the difficult things. And just a step back of talking about children, some of those things that we don't realize are affecting the next generation,
yes,
that continue to go on and go forth. And it's just something I was brought up doing, or I brought up seeing. But as an educator, and I know you in ministry see it all the time, we see it in the eyes of the children. A child is supposed to be seen and not heard, and just sit there and be quiet, and you don't know anything, you're not old enough to know nothing. You don't need to say nothing till you pay bills. Now y'all know I'm telling the truth.
Yes.
You don't need to say nothing, you don't have no comment on nothing, you're not working working anywhere, you're not paying no bills, you're not paying no taxes, so you don't need to say anything. But in the eye of an educator and someone who's watched children, small children, teenage children over the years, we see the effects that it has of the repeated cycle of abuse, the repeated cycle of alcoholism, the repeated cycle, the circle that seems to never end. And we see it in the children every day. I have caught so many children just looking out the window and not engaged. And I was a computer teacher. So, computers, technology, the animals flipping all around and going all around, and you're not engaged in it. Okay, there's clearly a problem. There's clearly an issue. And of course, we do have to get to the root of it.
Yes.
It is a part of our job to do that. And then we realize another generational cycle has crept up into this young child's life. Either someone has been ripped from them, a new person has been entered into their life with different ideas, with different emotions, that has caused a total disruption to occur in the lives. So as much as we say, oh, this is what I've seen, this is what I've heard, you finally have to, if you're going to live that, your best life, am I right? If
Yes.
you're going to live your best life, the best life that you can have, that God died and brought for you to have, you're going to have to face those hard questions.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to face those hard situations. And you may have to get some help.
Yes.
You may have to get some outside help,
Yes.
some counseling. You may have to go to a professional. And I realize, especially in the Black community, that's really taboo. Like, ooh, I don't need that. And my grandfather, you know, he lived through the time when there was a lot of horrible testing done with Black people. So he's like, I don't want nobody dealing with my head. But we have Christian, we have
Yes.
certified, licensed counselors who look like us, who are like us, who understand our culture, because a lot of it is culturally. And sometimes we laugh about Uncle Charlie who fell down at the family reunion because he was drunk, because we've seen it, and we just wait for him to get his eyes to get bloodshot red every year, but then he dies of liver cancer. He dies of some cancer or horrible disease. But it's not funny. It's not something that should be looked down upon and taken lightly. It is something that has to be reviewed, it has to be attacked,
Yes.
and it has to be stopped. Now, we're not going to do a spoiler alert because we want you to be able to purchase that Reverend Thompson's book so that you can get the how we're going to do it, and the why, and the steps that you need to take. But before we go to break, I want you to tackle this, and we're both going to take a huge deep breath, because this is a tough subject, and we may come and continue even after the break. But forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Because the second part of even the title or the subtitle is forgiveness from within the alabaster box. So first off, before our break, let's tackle the tough subject of forgiveness. What forgiveness is and what it is not.
First, the most important thing is forgiveness is for you. It's not about the other person. It is about you. It's about you, us, releasing all of that anger, all of that anxiety, and allowing that to flow through. There was an email some time ago when emails first started. It said, anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Wow.
You drunk the poison, but you're sitting back, ha ha ha, waiting for that other person to die. That's forgiveness. Forgiveness eats us up from the inside out.
Forgiveness is such a hard subject, because we always say, you know, you gotta forgive, you gotta forgive. Yes, we've been told in scripture, forgive a person 7 times 70 in one day, over and over and over, forgiveness. But forgiveness is not forgetting. Am I right? Correct?
But this is what I say. This is how I deal with it. When we say I can forgive, but I can't forget, that portion right there is just a little bit of ammunition that the enemy needs to continue to hold on to those thoughts. Forgiveness, dispensing that forgiveness is like the way that we get grace every day. We receive grace every day. Thus, the way that we should dispense forgiveness. Those thoughts are going to come, dispense forgiveness. Those smells may come to remind you and take you back, dispense forgiveness. It's something that it's absolutely necessary because of that trickster called the devil. Mm-hmm. So he wants us to have that little niche. Oh, I can forgive, but I can't forget. No. Even if when you get to that point, remind yourself that I won't forget. Dispense forgiveness every day.
Okay, I've got to talk a little bit more about this whole forget and forgiveness, but we're going to stop right here at this moment and for a song, because we're all going to need to seek God's help if we're going to be able to forgive, as Reverend Sha'Rhonda Thompson has taught us today. praise. All my strength, mind, body, soul loves only you. Oh, my soul loves you. Lord, you say, deliver to. When I was lost, couldn't find my way, you said, follow me, I am the way. All my strength, my body, soul loves only you. Oh, my soul loves you. At your feet I bow to you, for you sit high upon the throne, and for my sin you did atone. All my strength, my body, soul loves only you. Oh, my soul, he loves you. God of grace and mercy too. You are perfect in all your ways. I must praise you every one of my days. All my strength, mind, body, soul, Lord, I love you. All my strength, my body, soul, I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I worship and you're King of Kings and Lord of Lords. God, I love you above everything, everybody else, everything, everything. God, I love you. God, I love you. Tell him again, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. You died for me, and you set me free. You saved my soul and you made me whole. God, to him, nobody can do me like you. Nobody nowhere. Nobody nowhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. You love me first and you love me best. I gotta tell you, mind, body, and soul, Lord, I love you more than anything. Home, strength, mind, body, soul. God, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Lord, I love you. I love you. I love you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Lord, I love you. 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 And we're back. I'm Dr. Julia Royston with Living Your Best Life, and our guest today is Reverend Sha'Rhonda Thompson, Associate Pastor of Praise Nation and the recently released author of the book Breaking the Circle Cycle of Generational Curses, Forgiveness from Within the Alabaster Box. I think I'm going to just have to take another deep breath, Reverend Thompson, because that, ooh, you have challenged us today with the forgiving and forgetting, but I'll just end on forgetting takes time, doesn't it?
Amen. It's a journey. That's one of the things that I can continue to repeat. It's a journey.
All right, so we're going to leave forgiveness there. It's a tough one. It's a tough topic. It's something that is an ongoing step, and we're going to take that journey. Obtaining Breaking the Circle Cycle of Generational Curses, Forgiveness from Within the Alabaster Box is a book that will help you on your journey.
Yep.
Tell us how that they can get that book.
You can go to my website, Sha'Rhonda Diann, that's ShaRhonda.com.
Tell us one more time.
ShaRhonda.Diann.com.
All lowercase, all together, no
Yes.
spaces, no underscore. ShaRhondaDiann.com. Please reach out and visit that website and obtain that book. Now, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because this is another young lady who does a multitude and multiplicity of things. You know, when God gives you one gift, you know, you can multiply it to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 gifts. So, ShaRhonda, Reverend ShaRhonda, tell us about your business and what your business is and how people can support that business.
I also have an administrative services. It's called a business. It's called STS, which is sowing the seed of administrative support. What it is it's a business that sows administration in small businesses and small spiritual organizations. Our family also has a popcorn and lemonade store called We Poppin' in Jeff. It's located in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and that's where we have specialty popcorn, cookies and cream,